On the 8th of December 1940, British and Commonwealth forces launched Operation Compass, the first major Allied offensive of the Western Desert Campaign, with the aim of pushing the Italian forces back from their established positions in Egypt and eastern Libya. The British, under the command of General Richard O'Connor, initially planned for a 5-day raid, but soon achieved far more significant and prolonged success due to their superior tactics and coordination. By utilising highly mobile infantry and tanks, they had encircled and overwhelmed the Italian 10th Army, capturing over 100,000 prisoners of war, and had secured key strategic objectives, including the port cities of Bardia and Tobruk. The operation concluded on the 9th of February 1941, with the near-complete destruction of Italian forces in North Africa. Though this Allied victory would be short-lived, with Italy's crushing defeat quickly prompting Adolf Hitler to send reinforcements to bolster his struggling ally. Following the arrival of Erwin Rommel's Afrika Korps in Libya in mid-February of 1941, a rapid and aggressive counter-offensive would be launched to regain lost ground. With the support of Italian troops, the Axis forces caught the depleted and overextended Allies off guard, quickly pushing them eastward, back towards Egypt. By early April of 1941, Rommel's forces had surrounded the vital port city of Tobruk, which was occupied by an Allied force that consisted mainly of the 9th Australian Division. On April 10, 1941, the siege of Tobruk had officially begun, with the commander of Australian forces, General Leslie Morshead, vowing that he would defend Tobruk to the last man. The Axis forces would subsequently launch a series of probing attacks and raids to test the Allied defences. These often occurred under the cover of darkness, with small groups of Germans and Italian troops attempting to breach the defensive perimeter. Among the Australian forces positioned along Tobruk's defensive line were members of the 217th Battalion. One man among them was a 26-year-old corporal named John Edmondson. On the night of April 13th, in preparation for a larger attack, a German patrol of at least 30 strong broke through the WWII defences at the Australian Defensive Strongpoint, R33, just to the west of El Adam Road, bringing with them machine guns, mortars, and 2 light field guns. After they had been spotted overwhelming an Australian machine gun emplacement, a party consisting of 1 officer, Corporal Edmondson, and 5 privates, all armed with rifles, fixed bayonets and grenades, took part in a charge to try and outflank the Germans. During an exchange of fire, Corporal Edmondson was wounded in the neck and stomach, but continued to advance under heavy enemy fire, proceeding to kill 1 enemy with his bayonet. As the fighting continued, his commanding officer was involved in a skirmish with one of the enemy, when a second German would attack him from behind. As he called out for help, Corporal Edmondson, who was some yards away, immediately came to his assistance. In spite of his wounds, he killed both of the enemy troops, an action that had undoubtedly saved the officer's life. As they continued to ferociously engage the enemy, the few surviving Germans began to flee through the gap in the barbed wire that they had created earlier. Following the successful counterattack, Edmondson would immediately be treated for his wounds, but sadly died just before dawn on the 14th of April. He would be buried in the Tobruk War Cemetery. In recognition of his bravery and selflessness, it was seen fit that Edmondson would be posthumously awarded the Victoria Cross. He would be the first Australian to receive this honour during the war. This decoration would be presented to his mother by the Australian Governor-General on the 27th of September, 1941. In 1969, she would present her son's medals to the Australian War Memorial, where they are still on display today.